Quite unclear at this point whether the Union are going to advance much further. And the question really is, at this point in the battle, bearing in mind that the side that holds the ground is winning the battle, which side has won or is winning at this point? Who do we think is winning?
These boys are winning this thing.
The Confederates? Why do you think the Confederates are winning?
I think they're from Northampton.
Good enough reason. Those are pyrotechnic explosions going off, that's right, simulating what the impact would be of shell being fired. That's a good question.
Okay.
You can see that the Union commander now is deploying some skirmishers on his left and your right to try and threaten the flank of the Confederates. Those US sharpshooters, practiced, well drilled, but there's only 2 of them now. The bugle is blowing, ordering them forward.
I just realised they're still alive. Are they? Whose team are they?
See, they're going to fire a volley now. A Union volley has been fired, but even though they have very effective weaponry, it all depends upon their handling, their drills, their skills. Have they learned to be able to fire at the enemy when shoulder to shoulder with their comrades? Do they, as so many inexperienced soldiers do they end up firing high? And it looks like, once again, volleys have been fired that were high, but they're being ordered forward again. Confederates now taking a knee, presenting less of an impact, taking out some of the Union infantrymen. Now, we call this the American Civil War, and with good reason, because it was obviously fought both in America with mostly Americans fighting. However, in the North especially, over 20% of the soldiers that fought in the ranks were not actually born in America. 170,000 of them came from Germany, 130,000 from Italy, 150,000 from Ireland. They were born overseas. Also, the United States Army and also the Union forces recruited, especially in the last 2 years of the war, freed slaves from the South, and they also fought on behalf of that Union Army and were increasingly given combat roles, especially late on in the war. Looks like the artillery there managed to take out one of the Confederate soldiers. Confederate ranks here are being thinned, but the Union don't seem to want to push their luck. The nationalities, or the different nationalities of those soldiers in both armies were often reflected in the flags and the colours and the traditions. Famously, at the Battle of Fredericksburg in December 1862, a very sad occasion occurred when soldiers from Ireland fought against each other in one of the charges. The 69th New York, who were predominantly Irishmen from Galway in many cases, fought against the 20th Georgian Irish Volunteers, similarly from Galway and the Aran Islands and around Western Ireland. Many of them knew each other from their homeland. Many of them had come on the same boat, and many of them had landed in New York together and recognised each other and called to each other during that battle.
I see you chose to stand directly in front of the speaker, my love.
Eddie, can you stop and
At this point, the Confederates are using their own the captured artillery to give them some protection.
I don't mind. You want one?
The society, the American Civil War Society, was founded 50 years ago this year, ladies and gentlemen. It's the second oldest reenactment society in this country. We have members still present who were reenacting from those earliest days and the first few years of the society. And it is a family society with very inclusive, very welcoming. And we've come from all across the country. We have members in Scotland, from Wales, from the southwest and southeast, from East Anglia, as well as from here in the Midlands. And whilst we're waiting for the two forces to form up, I will also mention, ladies and gentlemen, that our encampments over to your right, but where those white A-frame tents are, will be an excellent source for you to pop over later to come and talk to the reenactors. Look at all the stands and displays that have been put out for you to look at, to ask questions about, and please do. The reenactors are very keen to share with you what these things that they have on display are for you to look at, and they are great photo opportunities as well. I mentioned that we come from all across the country. There are many events throughout the year. I think this is possibly our 9th event this year so far. And if you go on to our webpage, acws.org, which you can find, you'll also see what events that we have. And if those of you who are interested to find out a little bit more, or even potentially come and join in our ranks, we would love that. We have roles for everybody. You don't have to be an infantryman or an artilleryman. You can come into the encampment and take part. Remember, the army that you see on the battlefield is supported by an army off the battlefield. So the forces are formed together, ready for volley in salute. You'll be awaiting the words of command from Major Gibson. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That salute means a great deal to us. We hope we've given you some insight today into what a battle would have been like at that time. And there, ladies and gentlemen, these soldiers of both armies have what are called capped off. They fired a percussion cap to make safe their rifles. And now what you'll see the Confederates are doing at the moment is they are easing their ramrods out. The NCO will test by the sound of the ramrod being put down the barrel to make sure that there is no powder left in the barrels themselves. Union commander there has separated into two ranks and is doing the same. there's any suspected powder down the barrel, you'll sometimes see a rifle upended and checked again. And the Union forces are now safe. Rear rank has now marched forward 4 paces. And the forces are ready to march off the field. The Federates are now forming a column of 2s. Command to fix bayonets now. This remains part of the infantry drill for most armies throughout the world, even to this day. Bayonets are still used on the end of most weapons, even the automatic ones. So as the 2 enemy or former enemy forces have come together, they'll be marching off the field together. So, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the action today from the reenactors of the American Civil War Society. So can I have a big final cheer for all of them, those that have taken part? For all the soldiers that have fought, for the pyrotechnics team, let's have a cheer.